Hey, it's time for another entry in my video blog. Actually, it's somewhat past time for another entry in my video blog. I will, however, dispense this time with the customary excuses and explanations for the lateness and move straight on to what happened the week before this was supposed to go up. Well, first, I do want to mention one thing that happened the previous week that I intended to mention then and didn't. That's one of the disadvantages with running late like this. It's hard to keep track of what happened what week and make sure you get to everything. But I had intended to mention something related to something I'd mentioned in a previous entry, that I'd had to upgrade the memory in my laptop so that it would run the sound recording program so I could make my album, etc. Also, on a related note that I don't think I mentioned, well, I live in a cheap apartment because I don't have much money. A very cheap apartment. Cheap enough the ceiling, at one point, actually collapsed. Door depicted to show scale. There is where the ceiling collapsed. A pretty sizable bit. The landlord did eventually fix it, although it took two things. I don't remember whether first it leaked and he supposedly fixed it and then it leaked more and collapsed, or whether it collapsed and then he supposedly fixed it and then it leaked more after that. But eventually it took two fixings to stop it from leaking and one full collapse of the ceiling. But that part of the ceiling has not collapsed since. However, then a different part of the ceiling collapsed. So, why do I bring this up? Well, for the simple reason that when the ceiling fell, it fell on things. Specifically, the first time the ceiling fell, it fell on my printer, and more or less destroyed it. I mean, the printer was still kind of in one piece, but had all this stuff inside, didn't work too well. Fortunately, then the Space Science Center had a printer they weren't using, and they had the center just offer it to me if I needed one. And that printer turned out to be much better than my old one, so that turned out to be no big net loss. But the second time the ceiling collapsed, it destroyed a couple of things. For one thing, it destroyed my camera. Obviously not the camera I'm recording this with now, but a different camera, a still digital camera. This one right here. It's, again, still in one piece, obviously. It wasn't, like, shattered into a million pieces, but see, that's the on button that I'm pressing. Note that nothing is happening. Something should happen when I hit that button, namely the camera should turn on. If the camera does not turn on, it is not good for much. Except maybe a paperweight. And I don't really need a paperweight. I thought it might be the battery, but it's not. I put in a new battery, still doesn't work, so yeah, pretty much destroyed. So I'm currently without a still camera. I have my phone, which has kind of camera capabilities. I have the camera I'm recording this with, obviously, a movie camera, but at some point I may get a digital camera. Right now it's a bit outside my price range, not a priority. Anyway, aside from the camera, the ceiling collapsed. It also destroyed an external hard drive. Now this was bad, not so much because of the files there, although it turned out there were some important files on there, but also because, well, I needed that, because if I was going to do music recording, I need a lot of hard drive space for that, and the other hard drive didn't really have that much space left. So I thought I might need to get a new external hard drive, but then it occurred to me that, maybe it's not the hard drive that's the problem, maybe it's the power cord. When I was at my parents' place for Thanksgiving, I checked that, and indeed the power cord wasn't working, so it turned out I just needed to get a new power cord. So, to wrap this all up and stop waving my hands like that, the week before last, or actually the week before last, since this is already a week late, I had gone to Radio Shack and Best Buy to get new memory for the laptop and a new power cord for the hard drive. I got neither. I got memory for the laptop that turned out to be incompatible, and Radio Shack was out of the right kind of power cord. So, very boring and pointless story, but one that I'd intended to say in the last episode, and did not, though maybe that's for the best. Anyway, I just bring it up now because I hate to leave things like that unsaid. Anyway, since then I have managed to get both of them. I now have a working external hard drive again, and I have the full gig of memory in the laptop, which is enough to install the sound recording program I need, so it's all worked out now. But just wanted to say that since I didn't say that last time. Anyway, on to things that are slightly less boring and pointless. First of all, I don't have that much to report as far as how things have been going for my career this last week. I have been working hard on the screenplay that I was supposed to turn in, which I have to turn in this Saturday. We're actually meeting with the, and get together with the producers and director and cast and everyone of that movie at the, I am drawing a blank here, at the, what is it called, Hard Rock Cafe in Universal City. Let's, again, pretend this isn't a week late and that hasn't already happened. So, I will report on how that went in the next episode. But I've been working hard on that screenplay. That's been taking most of what little approximation of free time I have. Fortunately, it's going relatively fast because I had it all planned out in a lot of detail beforehand, but still, actually writing it is a lot of work. Secondly, as far as school, this was, of course, the last week of school before winter break. I got 2 weeks off. Hooray! I have a lot of plans and things to get caught up in during those 2 weeks. I want to make some headway with my research, music recording, a lot of other things I want to get done. Yeah, I guess one thing about being a teacher, you get a lot of gifts. Mostly food. Not all food, but most of it food. A lot of the envelopes you see, in fact, contain gift certificates. Most, but not all of which are for food. Of course, the gifts were originally nicely wrapped. Most of the kids insisted on my unwrapping them in front of them, so you see them in their rather messier unwrapped state. That, in particular, came in this nice Christmas tree-shaped plastic box. I didn't bring that home because I travel by bus, and there's only so much I can carry reasonably on the bus. I was about at the limit today anyway. Not that I threw it away. I don't generally throw much of anything away. It's still there in the drawer at school for me to pick up later. Also, obviously, that was originally full of cookies. A lot of the food by now I've eaten. That plate in the lower right also was originally, full of bread. And there were 2 cupcakes in that up there. And if I opened one of the boxes of chocolates, you'd see that it, as well, has been partially devoured. I'm not sure why I chose the word devoured. Eaten would have served just as well. So anyway, there you see a teacher's typical Christmas gifts. I guess the least typical is this webcomics book. One of the kids knew that I drew webcomics, so he thought I might be interested in a book on the subject, which I kind of am, I guess, although he seemed to think that, seemed to hope he could find my webcomic in it, going by an offhand mention that I made once that the main character in my webcomic had attached earlobes. He looked through the book for characters fitting that description. What he didn't realize is that my webcomic is extremely obscure. I don't think he realizes just how many webcomics there are, and mine is definitely not one of the well-known ones. Additionally, the kids keep forgetting when I tell them that, or don't believe me, when I tell them that my webcomic is currently offline, which unfortunately it is, because last year I had some severe financial difficulties and was unable to keep up with my hosting bills. I managed to hold on to the domain name, but all the files were wiped. I do have backups of all the individual files, all the strips and everything, somewhere on my hard drive, but I don't have backup of the directory structure and everything. It'd be quite a project to get it back online. I will eventually, I plan to. I just haven't had the time yet. Plus, there are some things I wanted to fix anyway, that as long as I'm re-uploading everything from scratch, I figure I may as well fix those first, so it will be back online, but currently it's not. Not pictured, a tin of Danish butter cookies, which I left at school because I didn't have room to carry it home without balancing on my head or something, which I don't think I'd be physically capable of. And I figured they wouldn't go bad. I could still, eat them at school during breaks. Also not pictured this small red card, which was not pictured because I had it in a different pocket and just had kind of overlooked it when I was setting all those things up for the film. But anyway, so one of the gifts I want to talk about in a little more detail, it's that plastic bag was what's called a Candygram, which the students, one student class was selling it as a fundraiser, and students were supposed to buy it for each other or for themselves, and four of the students in my pre-calculus class decided they'd get it for me, which was nice of them. So as you can see, despite the name, the Candygram does not contain just candy. There are a few other odds and ends there. It's mostly candy, but there's this reindeer thing, or rain duck, I'm not entirely sure. I don't even know what this is. No, honestly, don't know. I think this is candy of some sort. I've seen some students with similar things when they weren't supposed to have them. And a pencil with a smiley, happy, yellow thing on it. Anyway, but still, I guess it was kind of nice of students to get a Candygram for the teacher. That's, I don't think, terribly normal, but okay, I'll take it. In fact, I think I'm going to eat one of those Hershey's Kisses right now. I'm not going to film that.